Have you seen any numbers for Fast and Furious? Is it putting up those big stats?
I think opening weekend, I don't know if, granted, I don't know if it was domestic or worldwide, but it was somewhere around 100 million.
That's pretty good.
It was like 90-something, which, was already labeled as like the best opening since the pandemic or anything like that, so.
They'll catch up eventually for worldwide numbers, but.
Yeah, fuck you, China. We're the box office that matters again.
For now, yeah.
You say that, except Fast 5 released last month in China. Like, they got a month ahead of us.
You said 5, so I don't know if that's impressive or not.
9, sorry.
Was that the official title of this, by the way? I didn't even pay attention. Was it just Fast 9?
I don't know. It just says
Because they went
like
Fast
F9.
5, and then Furious 6, and then...
I thought it was literally F9, the Fast Saga. That's what I thought the
just
official
That's what
title
it's
was.
billed as everywhere, yeah.
Okay. Because I know, like, the last one was, like, The Fate of the Furious, or whatever. Like it.
Which was...
But they didn't use 8
Yeah.
to spell fate, which they didn't do, which was a huge mistake.
Yeah.
I seen them actually do it.
I never did.
But it wasn't, that wasn't officially how it was titled.
Officially,
That's my
I don't.
point.
No, I don't think so. But I seen it on
Like,
posters.
they use
that
that in
way.
They use that in some advertising, but they didn't stick with it because they're cowards.
Well, I mean, that's the
Which
same
I've always
thing,
said
like,
about Vin Diesel.
They didn't go back in time and rename 4 the Fast and Furious. Like they could. It was right there.
No, that's dumb. That's dumb.
And the Fate of the Furious isn't.
That rolls off your tongue better. Fast and the Furious
Yeah.
sounds weird. That's
'Cause
awkward.
one's real words.
I want to see. I want to see
I
the
don't know. I think
parody,
it's all just-
the Fast and Furriest.
See, that rolls
That's-
better
no,
than
And
Furious.
I feel like
It's a-
that's a porno, not a parody.
Yeah,
Probably.
it's a kink for people into like the mascot stuff.
No, that's the name of Sonic 2.
Oh. there you go.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Brad Guy and his Super Friends. I'm your host, Brian Labick. Joining me for this episode is someone who should know better than to never lock his lift, Andy No Note Stoles.
What's up, podcast people?
Next up is someone who has also read weird books that have messed with his mind, but enough about Harry Potter. It's Josh Zorich.
Yeah.
Next, someone who would agree with Barton Blaze that helicopters are in fact cool, Mike Bradley.
Yeah, helicopters are pretty fucking awesome. And if you say otherwise, I don't know. You suck.
You're a bonehead.
Uh-huh.
And finally, he doesn't have a nice jacket, but he knows how to jacket, Ian Leidick.
Like Daddy-O said, I'm Ian and I was born to fuck.
Is that what Daddy-O said?
I feel like we just walked into that one.
I mean, you teed that up. Well done.
All right, so on tap for this episode, we have another. I don't know how to pivot from that.
Pivot.
We have another Rewind Theater. It's actually been probably about a month, I think, since we last did one of these, which was Valerian, and at the City of a Thousand Planets was the last one we did. I didn't actually go back and look, but I feel like it's been a while since we've had the full crew here for one of these.
I believe you are correct.
It's been a minute, as the
Who was
kids
missing
say.
for Valerian?
that
me?
I don't remember. It might have been you, I think.
Yeah, I think that was me. It was me.
No,
that
it was Brian.
Trying to trap us in a trick question, or you didn't remember that you weren't here?
Both.
I don't remember why you weren't here, but
yeah, there was something that
Mike's
happened.
actually missed 3 of the last 4.
Yeah, it's been a while. Like I've been on a roll of fucking up missing these.
It's really, I feel like it's because of the kitchen.
we made you watch the
This is
kitchen.
the first episode he's been on since the kitchen.
That was-
Well, then this is his blazing return.
I see what you did.
But I missed Turtles 2, Turtles 3, and Valerian.
yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're back on track. I'm here.
That's right.
I'm not missing a Nic Cage movie. I promise that.
All right, so if you're new to this series of episodes for the Rewind Theaters, what we try to do is it's basically an excuse for us to go back, try to revisit some older comic book movies that we either haven't seen or haven't seen for a very long time. Our format for these has been to start with some of the comic book history for the movie we're on, since they're all based on comic books or graphic novels of some kind. Josh takes the point on that one. After that, we'll talk about some people that were involved in transitioning that property into a movie. We'll go over the budgets, box office gross, ratings, if it's the first time watch or rewatch for all of us. Before we get into discussion, we'll throw out the spoiler alert. We'll get into our 60-second summary, which one of us has volunteered to do ahead of time. When we get to the main discussion, it will consist of 5 categories. We have directing, characters and actors, story, soundtrack, and special effects and explosions. Giving ourselves 10 minutes on the timer for each of those categories. We'll try to keep us on track with that. Once we go through all of that, we'll end our discussion with our rating and see if everyone thinks that movie holds up. And after all of the movie we are on, to take some pressure off of us and figure out what we're watching next, we leave it up to the Wheel of Fate.
The Wheel of Fate!
So if you have listened to the past episodes, you'll know that we're trying to stick with 3 franchises and 3 standalone movies on the wheel at a time. We kind of just reserve the right to change that format anytime we feel fit. So this is what we've been rolling with for right now. That's what we're going with. At the end of our last episode, like I talked about, we did, at least the last Rewind Theater we did, was Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. The wheel selected 2007's Ghost Rider. And that is where we are at today. And at this point, I'm going to hit Josh up so he can give us the comic book background for Ghost Rider.
All right.
School's in, suckers.
Everyone, take your seats. All right. This one was interesting. So to talk about Ghost Rider, we actually have to first talk about Ghost Rider. But that person is no longer Ghost Rider. So what does that all mean? A character first called the Ghost Rider is created by writer Ray Crank and artist Dick Ayers in 1949. It's published by Magazine Enterprises. The alter ego of the Ghost Rider is a person named Rex Fury. And they were publishing these as horror-themed Western stories. And those were in print for about 5 years before the Comics Code comes around and gets installed. And then a lot of that kind of material is discontinued and canceled. Once this happens, within a couple of years, the trademark for the Ghost Rider character expires. And Marvel snatches it up. So they basically take the look and the name and the general gist of the character and buy out the trademark and then like re-trademark it as their own.
So I always thought that they created that, so that's interesting to me.
Yeah. So they basically take the whole, the idea whole cloth and began publishing their own character called Ghost Rider in February of 1967. With writers Roy Thomas and Gary Friedrich. But the original artist, Dick Ayers, from Magazine Enterprises, was at Marvel at that point. So the modern Ghost Rider that we know gets introduced in 1972. And at that point, the legacy character, originally called Ghost Rider, is renamed. Now, I'm going to go through a little bit of what I'll call maybe problems with how Marvel handled the reinvention, if you will, retroactively of this character. So before it became known as the Phantom Rider, the character was first named Knight Rider, Night, that they used for a series of reprints of the things that they had done from the years past. The problem with this is that Knight Rider is a term generally used by and associated with the KKK to describe certain of their members and roles that they took on and activities that they were involved in the early 20th century. So that name didn't last very long. So it was first called Ghost Rider. Then when they wanted to make something else called the Ghost Rider, they renamed the first Ghost Rider Knight Rider. But that was the Klan. So then soon after that, it becomes the Phantom Rider. So this original character who originated at Magazine Enterprises, bought by Marvel, the trademark snatched up by Marvel, now becomes known once and going forward as Phantom Rider. That's what this character is. 7 people have taken up the mantle of the Phantom Rider, still that initial Western character. The first, this is why we're going to go through this, the first, based on the Marvel creations, is Carter Slade. Carter is probably the cleanest that I could find of the characters that they put together. And by the end of this, I'm going to pose a question to you all. I'm going to ask it now, and then we're going to revisit it. Why would Marvel keep writing this character and having people do these things? So let's go through. So people who have been the Phantom Rider, Carter Slade, okay. After Carter's character dies, his sidekick takes up the mantle for a brief period, but as the Rider soon dies, so number 1, he doesn't last very long. The third person is Carter's brother, Lincoln Slade. But the power of the Ghost Rider drives Lincoln insane, and he ends up raping one of the West Coast Avengers named Mockingbird, who afterwards knocks him off a cliff and allows him to fall to his death. The next iteration...
What year was that? Do you know what year that was?
I don't have that marked, but I can find it as we talk.
It's got to be the 70s, right?
So from what I can tell, some of these, like Carter Slade and maybe the sidekick, were the ones that were actually written at first while they were still calling it Ghost Rider. Most of the other ones seem to be after the Phantom Rider transition, but I will try to look up things as our discussion continues.
Okay.
So that's obviously big problem number 1. Number 2, the next person is Reno Jones, who appears to be the only black character who ever gets to be the Ghost Rider. That character fought the KKK Night Riders, probably in some kind of effort to fix what they had accidentally done a few years earlier, but ends up getting betrayed by his best friend, who turns out to be the leader of those clan members. Tough look for the best friend. And our only ethnic superhero here. Lincoln, that son of a bitch, comes back to inhabit his descendant Hamilton, and then haunts Mockingbird, the one he raped, for letting him die after raping her. Later on, Nick Fury, of S.H.I.E.L.D. fame, brings Carter Slade's grandson JT onto his team during the Secret Invasion arc, only to find out that JT is a Hydra double agent. And lastly, Jamie Slade gets possessed by her descendant later on, again, that asshole Lincoln, and she becomes mad at Mockingbird as well, the one he raped, for allowing her descendant to die. So I ask you again, gentlemen, why would you keep making this character so bad? And why would you keep writing the Phantom Rider this way?
Too easy. So because they called him the Phantom Rider, they obviously supported the KKK, and they were upset Lincoln freed the slaves. So they had the character named Lincoln keep coming back and doing dick shit.
I didn't find dick shit as a quote anywhere, but I mean, that's as good of an argument as any.
I mean, I think Marvel had obviously problematic storylines back in the day, because didn't they do something similar with like Janet Van Dyne? Didn't she get messed up by somebody?
Yeah, Hank.
That's yes. Okay, that's what I'm thinking of. Yes.
Domestic abuse.
But
yes.
but like, I feel like that was portrayed differently because like everybody kind of turned on Hank during that reality. Like,
see, I don't remember all the fallout and stuff. I just sort of remember the gist of sort of what happened.
The other Avengers and whatnot were not okay with it.
Okay.
Yeah, which from what I remember seeing kind of happened later, like once somebody pointed out, oh, we handled that badly. Let's write some things now, a little while after that initial storyline, to make sure people know, oh yes, this was bad. We meant for it to be bad. But that is the history of the Phantom Rider. That is the basis and the foundation of where the idea of Ghost Rider came from. And funny enough, I did throw this in. a company called AC Comics reprinted Magazine Enterprises catalog in the 80s, I believe. So at that point, AC Comics and Magazine Enterprises had to rename their own character because they no longer owned it. Or they didn't own the trademark of the name and the idea of it, so to speak. So the originally conceived and named Ghost Rider is now known as Haunted Horseman for Magazine Enterprises and AC Comics.
Is that still going on right now?
I don't believe anything has continued to be published, but anything that they've retroactively reprinted or anything has been changed.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Can you imagine, like, Marvel, because of Sony's ownership of Spider-Man, just signing Tom Holland on for, like, a 10-movie contract as Arachno Boy? Saying we created a new character.
I'd watch it.
I mean, they would change very little about the character. Just be like, it's different. It's not the same.
They're gonna, you'll see a thank you to Magazine Enterprises in the credits of the film. Thanks for the inspiration. So what do we know about the actual modern Ghost Rider, the one that we're all familiar with that we thought was probably, the original? The Ghost Rider, as we know, as I mentioned earlier, debuted in 1972 in Marvel Spotlight #5 from writer Gary Friedrich, Roy Thomas, who both were initially working on the, quote, old Ghost Rider, now Phantom Rider series, but new artist Mike Ploog. Johnny Blaze was the original Ghost Rider of that incarnation, and from what I can tell, the origin story follows that pretty closely as presented in the film, at least from the point of view of the deal with the devil to help his ailing father. Johnny Blaze is the man behind the skull until 1983. The actual Ghost Rider series went solo in 1973. So he's there for about a decade. In 1990, a new series begins with a character named Danny Ketch, who is the writer now and is eventually written along the way to be Johnny's long-lost younger brother, because of course he is. His series runs... related. Yeah, his series runs through 1998. Now, here's something I thought that was really cool. It's not until this second incarnation in the 90s, anywhere from 20 to 25 years after the Ghost Rider that we know is first conceived, that he gets his iconic spiked leather jacket and the enchanted Hellfire chain. Those were not part of Johnny Blaze originally. It's Danny Ketch who is given that look and those weapons and whatnot during that run.
Huh, okay.
Seems that from what I can tell, the new production on Ghost Rider took a nap for a while and comes back for a short period in 2011. Again, this is like a move that I don't know why you would do this, but for a short, like a mini series, there was a Nicaraguan female character named Alejandra Jones, who takes on the spirit of and the abilities of the rider before Johnny Blaze shows up and takes them back for himself. And I just wrote, what an asshole. Like, I don't know why you would do that, because it didn't seem like they went anywhere with it.
Probably just to say, yeah, look what we did.
It could be.
It was something they probably put out as a test, and it didn't market well for whatever reason. Like, what they were trying didn't go over well, and, they decided to backpedal on it and go back to Johnny Blaze for whatever reason. And
right. It seems to be the stale word all through these other incarnations. He's the one that they keep sticking in to be the glue in the continuity. So lastly, the modern Ghost Rider is Robbie Reyes. If you've watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., that is your Ghost Rider that you get in season 4 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Loved it.
I did too, honestly, and I was really late to the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. game. That was a pandemic watch for me. And that whole arc with him and that actor's portrayal of it all was pretty badass the whole time. I really liked that inclusion. One big difference between Robbie's version, and the traditional ones is that he instead drives a black muscle car instead of a motorcycle. Wikipedia tells me that it is probably similar to a 1969 Dodge Charger because it's cars.
He needs a Corona.
So, whatever. Yeah, right. Interestingly, this is where we're gonna end with. Other writers have included Frank Castle, the Punisher, who in like an alternate reality timeline story, eventually becomes the cosmic Ghost Rider and a herald for Galactus as he seeks his revenge on Thanos in that timeline and reality. And then lastly, another female character named Kushala, who in her run is known as the Demon Rider, but for a time actually became the Sorcerer Supreme.
Oh, okay.
So that is your introduction and background into the Ghost Rider, the Phantom Rider, the sad stories of the KKK and unconsented rape.
Can I throw in one fun little factoid?
I think
not a lot of people would know.
I think we need to do that. We can't end it with unconsenting rape.
Yeah, no, definitely don't do that.
Is there consenting rape then?
It's the worst.
Anyways, little known, at one time, Ghost Rider was a member of the Fantastic Four. He was one of the four, alongside Wolverine, Hulk, and Spider-Man, when the team was kind of restructured for a very short stint. But I always remember those few issues of Fantastic Four and it being like, what the fuck is this? Why didn't they just team these guys up and call them something else?
It seems like an odd thing to just give them like the name only.
They didn't even get the uniforms. It was they were just there the way they're normally drawn.
They really just wanted to move the issues that are titled Fantastic Four any way possible.
Yeah. So you put Wolverine and Spider-Man and the Hulk. Ghost Rider's never really been like a huge seller, but Wolverine, Spider-Man, and the Hulk and on one team, that's got to move comics, right?
Right. Yeah. I can see the logic there.
But I don't know how Ghost Rider ends up as part of that team and just thrown in there. Like, I don't know who can be the Human Torch. Well, Ghost Rider's covered in flames.
Yeah, he's got fire.
There you go.
Throw him in.
Like, all right,
His name's
do it.
Johnny.
Yeah, he's named Johnny too. That's right.
All right, so who transitioned the comic book stuff into this movie? I almost want to say like sole person responsible because he's listed as the writer and director, the sole writer. So there's no one else that wrote this movie. Is Mark Steven Johnson. Does that name sound familiar to anyone else for any other comic book interpretations around that time? Because I'm going to give you the answer if you don't know.
Can I guess?
Spawn.
Not Spawn. Go ahead, Mike.
Based on like techniques and shit like that. The only one that came to my mind was the second Fantastic Four.
No. Josh, Andy, you got a guess?
Nope.
What other movie this guy has done in this sort of era?
It was a comic book movie?
Yes.
Have we seen it already on Rewind Theater?
No.
Is it on our list to watch on Rewind Theater?
Yes. So, Ghost Rider was 2007. The other movie I'm thinking of, he did in 2003.
2003.
It has a very famous character.
Blade?
And a very good leading man.
Blade?
No. Daredevil.
Oh.
He did Ben Affleck's Daredevil.
Okay. That actually adds up.
Yeah.
He also did the bad Jack Frost movie.
Is that the one
But
with
not
Keaton?
Michael Keaton. Or the Michael Keaton. Like,
I don't know where you swing on that. Is it the Keaton one or is it not the Keaton one?
Yeah, like
It's the Keaton one.
I was gonna say, like, is there a good Jack Frost movie from
the one where it's a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, yeah, that okay.
I figured that's where he was leaning. I just want to make sure. Suddenly I got really self-conscious that I picked the wrong one. So yeah, Mark Steven Johnson. I believe he is also the writer and the sole writer and director for Daredevil as well.
Did he do Elektra?
Right.
Or-
He did not do Elektra.
Okay.
That's a
Elektra was
shame.
somebody else.
He did get credited for the characters in Elektra. Though.
Yeah, the on-screen interpretation of Elektra. Now they get to use it for Elektra, and he gets some sort of credit for it.
Fair enough.
That's a check.
Yeah. So this movie, Ghost Rider, stars Nicolas Cage, Eva Mendes, Sam Elliott, Donald Logue, Peter Fonda, Wes Bentley, and for me, one of the most surprising appearances to me was Rebel Wilson as Girl in Alley.
Yes, Rebel Wilson.
It was a good, like, is that like her first thing, right?
It's got to be. I mean, it was definitely before she broke out, because watching it now, I'm like, why do I know her?
And she's
And
great in this. She has a
Yeah.
fucking standout moment.
And it was very difficult for me to tell it was her because I'm not used to the punk rock look for her, and I'm used to
Right.
seeing her blonde. So it really took me a minute to, and I had to look it up to make sure. But I was like, I think that is. But yeah, that was a cool little thing.
That whole look and the way that she was there kind of reminded me of like how out of place Ethan Suplee looked in The Butterfly Effect
Mm.
for himself. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like because he did like that whole goth look there, and I'd never expect that kind of from him. So it's the same kind of thing.
So any guesses on the film's budget for 2007's Ghost Rider?
I came across it, so I'm abstaining.
All right, nothing from Josh.
124.
124 from Andy.
90.
90. Ian.
35.
Billion?
No,
They did have
million.
Nic Cage in this. You got to remember.
Yeah, so that's what, $1 million tops.
At that time, actually, probably a lot.
So I think 124 was probably closest, but we're at 110 for the film's budget. 110 million.
We were
Where?
both kind of close.
Yeah.
Where did this money go?
Nicolas Cage is coming off National Treasure at this time.
Yeah.
Where did this money go?
He's big. National Treasure was big money, and
The
Nick
s-
Cage
the
was
sequel
a big
was out
draw
later
in
that year.
time.
I mean, I don't know how you feel about the special effects, but there were a lot of special effects in this movie.
Yeah.
There was a lot in Spawn too, but they weren't that
expensive.
expensive.
We're gonna talk about that. I'm not gonna. No spoilers on my opinions yet.
Yeah. All right. Any guesses for the box office pull for this movie worldwide? How do you think this movie did?
375.
250.
This was PG-13.
I was gonna say that, so I'll just go to 90.
Josh.
300 even.
Andy is the closest with 250. It was 229.
Woo!
Wow.
So even lower than most of you.
Wow.
It made 116 million domestic, 113 million international. So it's sort of split right down the middle. But on a $110 million budget, 229 is not that great.
No, because all the marketing and stuff adds up after that.
Yeah.
But it was enough
Yep.
to get a sequel.
Yes. 4 years later? I think 2011 was the
Is
sequel.
Cage even
Technically
in the
released
sequel?
in like early 2012.
I know.
So
Idris
about
Elba's in
5
the
years
sequel.
later.
But yes, Nick Cage is in Spirit of Vengeance.
Yes.
Yes, he came back. All right, so we'll go over the ratings. We'll revisit when we get to the end. Rotten Tomatoes has a critic rating of 26%, audience at 48%. Metacritic is sitting at the Meta score of 35, user score 3.9. So not the greatest. So we'll revisit them when we get to our ratings. Going around the horn, is this a rewatch or a first time viewing for all of you? Andy, we'll start with you.
This is definitely a rewatch.
Okay. Mike,
Oh yeah, rewatch.
Ian,
Rewatch.
Josh.
Rewatch.
Okay. Is this one of the first films we've all seen before?
This is the second or third time.
Okay. It's like we do them so sporadically, I can't keep track anymore.
Because like the Turtles, this we all saw.
Oh, fair. I couldn't remember if you saw it. I thought there was some that you haven't seen.
Well, the original one for sure, and then from there it gets fuzzy.
Okay, gotcha.
And then I think, of course, we all saw Swamp Thing. Watchmen was a rewatch for all of us.
Well, not
Yeah.
for me.
Well, you don't count as a person. You didn't see
Wait, that
Watchmen.
was the first
Right.
time you had watched Watchmen?
Yes.
Wow, I didn't even realize that. I don't remember you even saying that, but I believe it. It's
I
just,
thought I did,
wow.
but
I remember you
I
saying
mean, I
it.
still don't believe them.
all right, so it's that time of the show where we're going to go into our discussion portion. Since we'll be discussing everything in the movie, I'm going to throw out the spoiler alert. So if you have not seen 2007's Ghost Rider and don't want it spoiled, pause this now, come back after you've watched the film. If you want to listen anyway, right after the spoiler alert is our 60-second summary, which will hopefully give you enough of a general plot of the movie that you can listen to our discussion. But either way, spoilers to follow.
Spoiler! Spoiler! You know, something like that.
All right, so now that we have the spoiler alert out of the way, we're going to roll into our 60-second summary. Again, the goal of this is to give you an idea of the plot of the movie if you care to listen along without having watched the movie. But we've added the challenge of having to give you that summary in under 60 seconds. So luckily, if we do this too quick and go through it, you can always pause us, rewind. Let's do it again. So Josh is going to pull double duty on this one. He has volunteered to take the 60-second summary for Ghost Rider. So do you want me to give you a countdown, or you just want to, when you start going, I'll just hit play for our little timer?
Give me the countdown. Let's try that this time.
All right. Do you want me to, like, 1 and go, or on 1?
Three, 2, 1, go.
Okay. In 3, 2, 1, go.
Johnny Blaze was raised by and is carny trash. His dad has lung cancer and keeps smoking. Trash. Johnny makes a deal with the devil for his dad's health and is shocked to find there is fine print. The devil heals his dad that kills him anyway. To honor his dad's memory of not being just trash, Johnny becomes a stunt jumper who loves monkey videos and drinking candy from martini glasses. He has a crush on a girl who grows up to be Eva Mendes, so good for her. We're shown that unrequested forceful kissing still worked in 2007. So what's the story? Blackheart, the devil's son, goes all emo and wants to rule Earth as a second hell. Satan doesn't like this, so he turns Johnny into the Ghost Rider to stop his son. Blackheart has elemental demons for a posse, kinda cool. Johnny meets Wade Garrett, who catches him up on all the exposition we learned in the prologue. Blackheart wants the contract which his father made with 1,000 people over a century ago. The middle of the movie is filled with pointless action sequences and events so that we know the Rider is an anti-hero. General Ross is revealed to be Slade Carter, who shows Johnny where he hid the contract from Satan. Blackheart uses love and booty as bait, gets the contract and absorbs all the souls. Now the Rider can use his Care Bear stare against Blackheart and he's out. The devil wants to release Johnny, but Johnny's all, I'm coming for your ass next. He can't keep the girl, but they kiss under a tree anyway. Credits.
A little bit over, but well done. You were worried. You said about 65 seconds. I think you probably got about 65 seconds on that.
Yeah, that looked about that.
I'm a little upset you didn't cut him off. But whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was the idea, is that you're supposed to be like, nope, we'll never know the end.
I know. He was on a roll. I didn't want to be that guy.
Guess who's doing 10 minutes next time?
See, when you
How-
preface
we-
it
now
with
we get to
that,
test
it's
it
definitely,
and see
I'll
how
definitely
long
be on
we
the
can
lookout for it
go
next time.
Before Brian will actually stop us.
Well, that's what I asked before we recorded. I told him I don't think I'm going to be able to get it under the 60. So, like, what is the effect? Am I getting cut off? Is there
Channel your
is
inner
there-
Hot Wheels guy.
is there? I did that last time, and there was way too much. But I didn't know.
That just means in post, I'm just going to cut it.
I didn't know if there was
We'll
like a
never know the
demerit
end in
system. There's lashes
Yeah, by the
involved.
time the edited episode comes
10
out.
points from Gryffindor!
All right, so we're at the point where we're going to get to our actual discussion. We have our 5 topics and 10 minutes on the clock for each of them. Out of direction, story, actors, characters, soundtrack, special effects. Andy, where would you like to start?
Oh, I get to start us off.
That's right, I'm picking you, buddy.
Oh, hell. We'll go with characters and actors. Is that one of them?
Yep.
Yeah.
Where
We'll go
you
with
got
that
it? 10 minutes on the clock.
one. Johnny Cage, or not Johnny Cage.
That is great.
Johnny
He should-
Blaze, Nic
How can
Cage.
he not go as Johnny Cage for Halloween sometime?
I was hesitant when I saw the movie the first time about Nic Cage as Johnny Blaze. Just doesn't fit the bill to me as what I always thought Johnny Blaze or Ghost Rider should be. But I thought he did a fairly good job. I mean, Nic Cage overacted a lot of the scenes, in my opinion. But that's Nic Cage. It's just what he does. You gotta
that's
expect
what he
that
signed
from
up
his
for.
movie. Yeah. Eva Mendes was very attractive. They didn't give her a whole lot to do, though. She didn't really do anything at all. The Blackheart character, I wish they would have fleshed him out a little bit more. Just like, what was he doing to the people? Was he taking their souls? Was he just sucking out all their moisture? What was that?
Sucking all their moisture.
He was transferring Seneca Crane's blueberries into their being.
Oh, see, I missed that part of the movie.
Yeah,
It was a
definitely
futuristic
Seneca
crossover.
Crane's blueberries.
I wish they would have explained a little bit more about what was going on with him in that. Donal Logue was really cool, actually, as like the little buddy guy. I thought he was pretty good. Rebel Wilson had her like 5 minutes of fame there. That was, pretty awesome. The I didn't care for any of the elemental fallen angels that followed Blackheart around. I thought they all sort of just sucked.
Yep.
Peter Fonda obviously did a good job as Mephistopheles. I thought.
Does anyone know? Is that supposed to be just Mephisto?
Yeah, that's
just...
Mephisto.
Okay.
That's just the Marvel Satan, the comics code Satan.
Did I call him something? It's Mephisto, not Mephistopheles.
Well, no, that's what they call him in the movie.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just was wondering why they used that name instead of just Mephisto. I didn't know if it was supposed to be someone different or the same person.
They're big Cats fans.
And
I think
I'll get into my opinion of why later.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass it to anybody else who wants to take on characters.
I will gladly, because the first thing I'd like to say, Brian, for the future of this show, can we spend our entire future budget for the show, whatever that might be, and try to talk Sam Elliott into doing narration for us?
I forgot about Sam Elliott.
Because Sam Elliott could narrate anything, and I'm in. I don't give a shit what he's talking about. I'm going to watch it.
My one note for that was that Sam Elliott just oozes cool.
He
It was
does.
the only thing I wrote down.
Yeah, if he smoked a Marlboro cigarette, I'd be smoking Marlboro cigarettes.
I did that for 10 years because of it.
Yeah.
He played.
I kind of want to figure out how to make my facial hair grow up to just below my eyes.
Yeah, that was weird.
Because, yeah, he definitely, like, they should have just shaved that down a little bit.
He actually played basically the Marlboro Man in Thank You for Smoking.
Okay.
Funny enough. And did anybody in my summary? I don't think they did. Did anybody catch that I called him Wade Garrett?
Yes. What did that mean?
I called him that and General Ross.
I caught General Ross.
Yeah.
Wade Garrett was his character from Roadhouse.
Oh, so yeah, I wouldn't have connected that.
Other things about characters, Nicolas Cage doing like the whole transition thing into Ghost Rider is 100% Nicolas Cage, and that's why I'm there for Nicolas Cage. It was fucking great. I feel like Eva Mendes did fine. Like there wasn't a lot there. What's Seneca Crane's name in that? What's his real name? I don't.
Wes Bentley.
Wes Bentley. Yes. What the hell was that? That was one of like the absolute worst things in this movie. He was
Blackheart?
awful. Yeah. I felt like Blackheart was just pure cringe from start to finish of the character. Like the dialogue, the acting associated with it.
I really enjoyed him because he reminded me a lot of the devil from Dogma. Like, it felt like the exact same character.
The devil from Dogma?
Yeah, isn't the guy the devil, or is
Or
he
Jason Lee?
Yeah, whatever
No,
his
he's not
role was.
he's not the devil.
He's just a demon.
Okay, anyways,
Yeah.
he's just like the guy in Dogma, and it was awesome as fuck. And I also really loved that he was proto-Edward fucking Cullen. That was neat as hell to see. And you see him hanging out with his Lost Boys, just fucking shit up. That was cool as hell. Speaking of, the waitress in this movie from the bar, she was in a little 2000 movie called Twitch, which is the basis for the website Twitch.
What?
And on that
You're making
note,
this shit up.
So the first time Nic Cage, I think, speaks in the film is after he crashes his bike. And they're like, you okay, Johnny? Johnny, you still alive? Are you even breathing? No one's helping him. They're just asking him questions, even though he's clearly concussed. And he just says, is the bike okay? And I wrote down, give him a fucking Oscar. Because he deserved one from that very moment until the film ended.
On that
Nic
note,
Cage did all of his maniac bullshit, and he was engaged throughout the film. This is one of his best roles, even better than his role in Astro Boy.
On the note of them surrounding him and like not trying to like let paramedics get to him or anything, I wrote a similar note down about when he sees his dad die. His dad is there lying dead on the ramp, and there is not a person in sight trying to help him. And he just goes up to his dad on the ramp and like rolls him over like, oh, he's dead. And it's like, where the fuck are the people that should be like, I don't know, trying to help? There was people like rolling the bike away and mulling
Because
around.
they're fucking carnies. They don't know what medicine is.
Didn't you hear the summary? They're carny trash. They don't have EMTs.
Yeah,
My
but nobody's
third
even
note
trying
is
to help.
fucking carnies.
Like nobody. They're just like
They're
that.
carnies.
All right, we got 3 minutes on the clock. Josh, you want to get in here?
Yeah.
I do. I agree. Good casting of Peter Fonda as the devil, Satan, Mephistopheles, whatever. But I thought that he was doing like his best Jack Nicholson as the Joker portrayal of a comic book villain.
I can see that.
I think he could have gone a bit more Pacino in
Devil's Advocate.
Devil's Advocate kind of way. And it would have worked just as well. I said that Nic Cage kept himself to 3 cages throughout the movie, which are what I'm calling Nic Cage-esque type moments. I forgot what the third one was because I was just marking tally marks. But the first one is definitely when he's giving the interview to Roxanne before his helicopter jump, which is what I based my intro response on. That he just gives this like 10-second pointless pause and then just says, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And then yes, during the first Rider transformation, you got I forget his character name from Face Off, but you get the like manic Face Off
Troy.
eyes. Yes.
Yeah.
He doesn't like I've never seen any part that he played where he finds that good sweet spot of actual like mania, and it just comes off as like a lunatic in a way. Like he should, in my eyes, like he should have been I don't know, like when those moments where he slips into like the bulging eyes and the laughter for a moment, like it's not what was needed at that point. But
but I think what you're actually seeing there is real mania, not acting. I think you're actually seeing mania
from him. Yes. I did note that Nic Cage got the Marvel body even before the MCU was a thing.
I wrote that obligatory Marvel shirtless scene.
Yep. And again, I'm with Andy. I felt like the casting was like him as the actor was not terrible, but the casting of him as the Ghost Rider wasn't really the greatest. I know he wasn't that old when he was in this, but I just feel like he wasn't the right person for it in a way. And Eva Mendes again, did well enough. The age difference between the two of them made things a little difficult to buy into. But no, I was
especially
okay
when they
with everything
show them the same age when they're younger.
else. Right.
Like, oh yeah, they're the same age here, and then they jump forward, and it's like they're still this. Oh, that doesn't look right.
Yeah, and again, Sam Elliott he's cool.
He's Sam Elliott.
Yeah, Sam Elliott was good. Donald Logue, I forgot how much I liked him in things, so that was cool to see him again.
Did he go in and out of his southern accent sometimes for you too?
Maybe I
felt like that happened a few
that's the
times,
least
and
of
I'm
my
like,
concerns with this movie.
Oh no, it's on the list, but it's low.
Yeah, Eva Mendes was fine. She had nothing to do. They didn't give her anything to do. She was, fine with what she had to work with. Nic Cage was fine, I think. I don't know. I didn't get the sense that it was him, like, being Ghost Rider. Obviously, you see him as Johnny Blaze, and you can get more of a sense of, like, Nic Cage doing things. But once the skull flames on, and there's nothing Nic Cagey about the Ghost Rider, that it's like, yeah, you need Nic Cage for that role.
Even
like
the
that guy.
persona, like
Yeah,
any of it.
it could have been anybody.
Well, which when Carter Slade turns into the Ghost Rider, you can hear Sam Elliott in that.
Right.
You can't hear Nicolas Cage through the voice of their Ghost Rider.
Yeah,
There's a story reason for that.
he's just very, he's even as the Ghost Rider is just very slow and like clunky feeling. I don't know. He just doesn't. Maybe they need to give more personality to the Ghost Rider to just make it feel like Nic Cage is coming through there. But nothing there felt like, okay, yeah, that's why Nic Cage was cast as Ghost Rider.
You don't
that makes
think
sense.
Monster was personality enough for you?
No,
Oh,
no, I don't.
He even did the Nick Cage hand motion.
Did you guys know, before we jump to the next thing, that they actually had to have the makeup department cover up Nic Cage's Ghost Rider tattoo so that he could play Ghost Rider?
I did remember hearing that years ago when this came out, and I thought that was pretty cool. And you can definitely tell. I'll throw him a bone. You get the sense that he wanted to be a part of this. I don't feel like he phoned this in whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree. I'll take that.
He definitely didn't.
All right, so we got story, soundtrack, special effects, explosions, and direction still on the board. Ian, where do you want to go next?
We're going to explosions.
All right, go for it.
So the beginning of the film, when they're doing the like summary of what ghostwriting is and why ghostwriting exists, they use all of the fucking like late 90s screen effects like all at once. And that was fucking awesome. So the first explosion in the film was when Ghost Dad dies. And I don't know if you guys recognize this, but falling off your motorcycle going 20 miles per hour should not kill you. And that's why I don't think anyone assisted him, because if he dies from that, he's dead. And that was also a 0 out of 10 explosion. And we know it was an explosion because when they show you outside of where it happened, you can see like flashing lights happen, which means that an explosion occurred. 0 out of 10 because flashing lights are a shit explosion. But we did get pyro. We got fucking pyro, and women love this pyro. This was like classic WCW in its heyday pyro going on.
Oh, man.
And it was fucking cool
Monday
as
Night
shit.
Nitro.
Damn straight. They could have had the nitro dancers out there on top of the helicopter. The Lost Boys looked fine. You know, I think they did a good job with their monster forms. But, like, actually, no, I'm just kidding. The CG in this movie sucked. It was so fucking awful that I was like, when was this made? I kept looking it up because I was like, at least Spawn, I thought, tried to do something. This, I don't know what the fuck happened. The CGI looks so bad in this that it now improves the movie because it's so bad. I'm like, holy shit, these guys didn't give a fuck about nothing.
If Ian
back
doesn't
in the
at least
day.
rate this movie a 9, I'm going to be really disappointed.
So then my favorite, I guess, effect of the film is so Ghost Rider is on top of a bridge and jumps off it, and Jesus walks on water, Ghost Rider shreds across it, and it's fucking cool as hell.
And flicks them off
I was
before he does
fucking
it.
losing my mind.
Yeah, don't forget flipping them off. That's
Oh, fuck the police. Ghost
Exactly.
Rider hates the police. Nic Cage respects them. Ghost Rider says, fuck the police. And then the one last thing I thought was like super weird, and I guess this could go in direction, but I'm throwing it in effects because I just read the note. Right at the end when they're having the contract off, they cut in and like zoom in on everyone's eyes real quick, and I was like, this is the dumbest fucking thing. So yeah, it
That's
gets
kind
0
of
out
a
10
special
for the
effect.
first explosion. All of the pyro though, 10 out of 10. Fuck yeah, explosions.
Josh, you want to follow that one up?
I was hoping it would come out on the high end because the first explosion note I wrote down was after the rider's first transition, and he speeds out of the city and like blows past the cop who's trying to get him on the speed trap. And I wrote down, the power of Johnny's riding caused an explosion of the air. That's got to count for something.
He broke the sound barrier with that.
Yes. As far as effects, I agree. There were definitely a lot of places that corners were cut. There's enough for the budget that they spent and for the year it was made and the way that some of these movies were being made in the first part of the decade, that like some of the rider scenes of him like just like shredding up the skyscraper, whatnot. Like I thought those like went okay. There's a lot that I thought at least looked well enough. The one thing that I was actually sad about is the whole sequence of the first transition from Johnny to Ryder. I actually really dug just about all of that. For like the minute that it's all happening, I liked his acting. It was over the top in a couple of moments, like with expressions, but the music was really cool. The effects were going great. The only thing I was disappointed in was they got about 60% of the way there with the transition from like human flesh and person, and then they just kind of blink, change the camera angle, and they come up, and now you've got cartoony, Ghost Rider Flamehead. If they had kept that going through the entire thing, I would have loved to see how they got all the way there, because I thought it was looking really cool.
The one note that I
yeah.
took that I wrote down was actually I dug the transition effects like that. Like I think every transition to and from Ghost Rider worked for me.
Mhm.
I think I wrote down as the best effect in the movie is the transitions. Now, I get what you're saying and I see that part of it. So, take that as a will that this is where the bar is, that I think everything under that is still kind of shit.
Mm.
And you and I think have the experience of having watched that like Ghost Rider and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where I think the transitions they do for a television show, granted it's, only a few years old, but the Ghost Rider transitions they did in a TV show, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., look fucking fantastic.
They're
I thought they looked
pretty
10
amazing.
times better than this.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
But I think on your point, Brian, though, like 4 years later, sci-fi is doing better effects on television than this film.
Fair, yeah.
Yeah.
And part of it might just be this was still in that weird realm of comic book movies where they kept coming out, but they didn't catch on to where they are now, where it felt like people were taking them seriously and actually like putting in the money and time and effort to make them look cool.
Right.
This definitely feels like almost like a cash grab. Like, okay, we have the Marvel license, we can do a character. Let's just throw this movie together and go.
I mean, that's what they were
But
going
they picked
for.
Ghost Rider?
They didn't have, this was, I don't know where Fox got the license for these specific characters, like, between Daredevil and Fantastic
was
Four
Sony.
and what's that?
This was Sony.
Yeah, this
Was it Sony?
This was Columbia.
Yeah, this
and
was Sony.
Okay, sorry. So even the licenses Marvel was handing out to other studios, like Spider-Man, understand that's popular. I didn't know that Ghost Rider, in the sense, was this popular. Either that, or it was just one they were willing to sell to someone, and they thought, "Oh, this looks cool, a guy with a flaming skull. Let's make a movie out of that."
Well, I mean, personally, I think they did a decent service at the time for the special effects they had for the Rider himself.
Yeah.
I feel like, the Ghost Rider looked good. What they did with Mephisto and Blackheart, I want to slap the shit out of them for, because those are two of the best villains in the Marvel universe. And it sucked.
Yeah, they just look like dudes with random ghost faces that popped up here and there.
Yeah. And, Blackheart is one of the coolest looking villains out there. I guess this movie would call it his true form, since he has to look like a human for the whole movie. But, Blackheart's true form looks amazing. Mephisto is, kind of a generic devil-looking thing in the comic books, not anything all that great in terms of design. But I don't know. That kind of frustrated me, but I think that goes to what you were saying, where people weren't taking these things really seriously at the time. We were still at a point where we got a giant cloud as Galactus. We got, so many of these things where it was like, man, if you just make the stuff people saw in the comic books and loved, people will love it. There's a reason these things were popular, and then Marvel Studios came around and said, well, let's try that, and look where we're at now.
Yeah.
They started making things more true to the comics. Watchmen did it. They stuck to what worked for the story, and lo and behold, it worked a lot better. Having said that, you got some really sketchy special effects here. One that you guys haven't mentioned at all is the motorcycle scene after he makes the big jump and he chases Roxanne down. The green screen there is one of the most obvious green screens I've ever seen.
Yeah.
When he's chasing the truck down and he's doing the tricks, and it's like, God, it's so, for a big budget movie, that was some shitty green screen.
I will say they tried, though. Like, there's the shots of, looking at the front of the van that Roxanne's in, and he's trying to go around the side, and it's obviously a stunt driver on the bike, but they plastered a CG Nic Cage face over the stunt guy, so you can, quick glance, it's like, oh, that's Nic Cage doing it. But the minute you start to look at it a little bit harder, you're like, no, that's a CG face mask that you put over someone's face.
Yeah.
And Mike, I don't want to cut you off, but we got 50 seconds on the clock. I want to make sure we get Andy in here.
Go for it.
The CG parts that I enjoyed the penance stare. I like the black and orange eyes after he was done doing the penance stare. I thought that was cool. And I actually enjoyed the transition from normal bike to rider bike. I thought that was actually a very cool CG transition. And I actually thought in general the bike looked and sounded cool.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
even like as it was like making trenches in the street and tearing down all of the glass that was going up the skyscraper. I thought that was pretty cool. I did not care for the helicopter scene on top of the skyscraper. It just didn't seem to have any bearing on, well, anything. And it looked shabby special effects wise.
Any last minute comments?
I just wrote Ghost Rider horse equals badass.
Oh, no. See, you understated that. That's the world's most badass, angriest horse, Alejandro.
Also on explosions, I will note that, Josh mentioned, all the things blowing up as Ghost Rider's going by. And they make a very clear note to point out that if there was any people there, they're also dead. Because when they zoom by together at the end of the film, Carter and Johnny, a lizard just gets incinerated. So living matter also just dies in the wake of the rider. So
it's for the greater cause.
Who knows how many people he killed just riding around? I mean,
he's out there saving souls.
Do you suppose that's because
he
didn't know how to contain the sheer raw power of the rider yet? Because I don't think he ever made that like divot in any of the streets after that.
But they killed the lizard in the end of the film.
I understand that. I'm just throwing something out there.
I don't know.
Proceed.
I don't. You're asking the wrong person that question.
All right. Mike, we'll transition. Where do you want to go next? Direction, story, or soundtrack?
I'm gonna go to story because I think I have the most to say about that.
All right, 10 minutes. Go for it.
First and foremost, what hurts the Ghost Rider that hurts Johnny? Because there's one thing. We see him get stabbed. And this inconsistency pissed me off so badly. He gets stabbed, and then Carter ends up stitching him back up because when he becomes Johnny again, he has a stab wound. He also, as the Ghost Rider, gets crushed by a truck, shot and riddled with bullets. God knows how many that was that the police shot him up with. Perfectly fine when he turns back into Johnny. Moments later, perfectly fine. What the fuck is that?
Yeah, that doesn't
just
make
take
any
the
sense.
part where the fucking knife hurts him out. Don't have that be a thing. It doesn't make any sense. He either needs to be invincible and not. Why knives? Is it just knives that hurt him?
Yeah, it's like the
Does
bat
anybody-
suit.
Yes.
That was an adamantium knife.
Okay, well, sure. Good things about the story. I don't have a whole lot on that. But I feel like they did a good job, with the interactions between Johnny and Mephisto. I'm not going to go through the whole name. Those interactions worked for me. Although it's kind of a dick to have like a paper cut seal a contract for your soul. Like that's. I mean, he is the devil, so it's kind of
that's
like
exactly what the devil would do. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get it. It's just like, damn, that fucking sucks.
That establishes, hey, that's the devil.
Right? Yeah, true.
They showed, didn't tell.
But I like one of the things I would say like that also didn't make sense about those interactions is when the devil shows up to essentially contract his fire elemental, the air gets cold. We see Johnny's breath so much, and it's just like, that pissed me off. Like, this is the devil showing up. It's not supposed to get cold. It's supposed to get hot. What the hell's going on? Like, if it's going to change, it shouldn't go that way. I didn't understand, like, the thought process.
Polar opposites, maybe?
Maybe. This, I guess... Man, I don't want to ramble too much, so I'm just going to go... This movie, in a nutshell, is the waiter answering Eva Mendes when she asks him if she's pretty with a
I wrote
To
that
me,
down. That out of everything, that is the most unbelievable part of this fucking movie.
Yeah, Eva Mendes
What?
is sitting there
She's-
like, am I
She's
pretty?
a wine drunk, sitting
I have a
lonesome.
note.
That guy killed her, going, That guy destroyed her mentally with that line, and I loved it.
He may have, but there's not a man on Earth that's going to do that.
No one in your right mind.
My exact note that I wrote for this, it was the first one I put down for story at all, was no matter what my rating comes out for this, I will deduct at least 1/2 point just for them trying to trick us into thinking that even in a fictional setting, someone could not find Eva Mendes attractive.
Yeah,
because that is her question.
Woman
they tried to
sitting
make
in a
her
bar
look...
for hours waiting for someone. Of course you're gonna be like, that's not attractive.
But that is her.
They tried to make her
She shows
look...
up there and orders wine before Johnny even leaves to go to the restaurant. So she is there at least an hour early.
Or he's really late.
Nic Cage was never late for nothing.
That's what I took, is he was trying to talk himself up to go.
They tried their hardest to make her look unappealing there. They tried to make her look
Fail.
exacerbated and drunk
Fail.
and all that, and it was just like, nope, didn't work.
No.
That's
She should have acted harder.
I'm well, whatever. It's that to me, like I said, is this whole movie just in a nutshell. Just what the fuck. If you're talking story, it's just it's all over the damn place. It's fun, but it's all over.
Andy, do you want to transition to story? What do you got?
Story, some things that didn't make any sense to me when Mephistopheles comes to get the power back from Johnny. I don't understand what prevents him from doing so, other than Johnny going, "You can't do that. I'm going to use it against you."
They signed a contract.
I like your Nic Cage.
Yeah, like I don't understand what prevented him from actually getting it back at that point. He's fucking Mephistopheles. He could just be like, "Fuck you, it's mine now."
Yeah.
I didn't understand that aspect. I also didn't understand why Carter Slade had to get the contract of whatever the fuck it was.
San Venganza.
San Venganza or whatever. Yeah.
It's a cool
Because
name, that's what I remember.
From what they showed us afterwards, it was the devil that got the contract and not the Ghost Rider. So I'm not sure why it flopped for that one. Does that make any sense?
And even once he has the contract, why doesn't he just burn it?
Yeah. That didn't.
I mean, it's a devil contract. It's probably immune to certain things.
Yeah, I just kind of figured mystical thing.
Like
that
that didn't drop me, but Andy's point definitely did. I didn't understand
why
the
why the rider
devil relationship in the business arrangement to the people who entered into the deals.
We're completely opposite. Yeah, it didn't make any sense to me. I felt like they didn't do a good job of clarifying the whole hallowed ground thing and why the Mephistopheles couldn't come after Slade at all. Because he was at the graveyard the whole time, I'm assuming. But Blackheart went into the church and just absolutely royally fucked up that priest, so I'm not really understanding of that one at all.
And then they just dropped like a casual line somewhere, like, "I'm not, oh, you thought you'd be safe, I'm not like my father," something like that.
Yeah, I feel like
he said they weren't fallen angels. Or at least he wasn't. He wasn't fallen, he was created by his dad. Fallen angels can't go onto hallowed ground.
Okay, maybe that's why Mephistopheles.
But there's a lot of shoe leather that it takes to get there.
The other three fallen angel, elemental, Nephilim, yeah. I didn't get that at all either. But those were the biggest gripes for me, so I'll pass it on because I know we're short on time here.
240 left. Ian, you want this one?
So, Johnny Blaze has made a career, and this motherfucker is bigger than Hulk Hogan and the Power Rangers, and I had no fucking idea why. Like, this dude has to be the most popular person in the fucking world. Like, everyone knows his name. There's 200 people waiting for him to cut off a news truck. Like, it's absurd. how big he is. Speaking of the news truck, I thought he was dumb as shit when he was like, I'm gonna go chase after her because she's my dream girl or whatever. But then, like, when he, like, starts to walk away from her and pulls it off, I was like, you know what? He's actually a Giga Chad. And I was like, that's strong writing showing me, like, just how much raw animal magnetism Nic Cage has and just doing that into the story. I really enjoyed that. Like, it was probably some of the best writing the film had was establishing that. I did really like the very quick police response to him like breaking out of prison, and then they just follow him like all over. And they even get it where you can have like 200 cops surrounding Ghost Rider, and they lit him up like Donald Rumsfeld found oil in his pockets. They just blew the shit out of him.
Yeah, that was like a Grand Theft Auto type of response there.
Oh my god, it was amazing. Like, they're just like, the police are mystical in this fucking universe. And
I
then
mean,
I think my favorite writing part is Blackheart saying, "Oh, your mind crush doesn't work on me. You can't fuggle my brain because I don't have a soul." And then to power up, he goes and gets 1,000 souls, now making him super weak against the Ghost Rider's greatest ability that he knows about in his reference. Just a fucking, like, next level genius move by that dude. Like, holy shit, how smart do you have to be? And then I don't know if this is from the comic book, but I love that the wet guy was named Wallow and he wallowed in sadness because he was wet constantly.
I mean,
Poor
wouldn't you?
bastard.
Yeah, I would do the same
Yeah.
thing.
And then I guess this could go in direction, but I think someone had to write this down to tell Nic Cage to do it. But in Ghost Rider form, when he's fighting at one point, he does the Matumbo finger wag, and that was so fucking badass.
Oh yeah, the cop that hits him with the
No.
with the
Yeah.
nightstick. He goes,
Did
no.
this movie happen before or after that commercial, though?
Before the commercial, but he was famous for doing it already.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, this story didn't make any fucking sense half the time because 1,000 souls isn't that big of a deal. Like,
In the
you know how
terms
many
of
people
like
die?
all of human history.
Constantly, like Cain and Abel, there's a really bad guy in that story. That's a good soul to have. The fuck?
Yeah,
Josh, did we get you in for story? I don't remember.
I kind of chimed in, but I'll say like the basic framework here is at least entertaining enough where you're like, okay, I'm watching this 2-hour Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider movie. These people are in it. I'm enjoying it. Okay, that's fine. It just, a lot of these were just weak points that could have been better. That like it got. I was not able to like latch on to the love story after they were teenagers.
Yeah.
Like it went too fast. Like, okay, we've met, and now from the moment that we're back together 25, 30 years later, we're apparently, star-crossed lovers again, and immediately we're there, and it was very forced. One thing I didn't understand in the graveyard when Blackheart does go after the caretaker, that I wrote, so the only demon powers of possession that Blackheart possesses are body kicks and pouty yells. That's all he does to Sam Elliott. He kicks and he says, "Give me it." Kicks. Tell me where it is. Kicks.
Fights?
Screams.
He fights Sam Elliott?
Yeah, he attacks him because he can go into the graveyard.
Am I missing this?
No, are you talking about the priest, Josh?
So this might have been okay. So this is an interesting point.
Those are different characters.
No. This is an interesting point. This might be the one. Maybe this is the one thing that was the difference of the extended cut.
Oh,
Oh,
see, yeah, I
Jesus.
didn't watch the extended cut.
That
I
was.
thought the extended cut was the one on HBO Max. I thought for sure that's what it said when I watched it.
I don't know. I mean,
I don't know.
Brian, you're not
I
reacting.
watched
like
on
you,
HBO
I
Max.
I don't.
too,
I mean, I
but
don't
that
remember
was
what you're
not there.
referencing,
You
so
saw
I
the scene.
definitely didn't see it either. I don't think.
Yeah, there's.
But I feel like I was also half paying attention at certain points in the movie, so it might have been
This
in there. And I
never
just,
occurred.
Yeah.
I feel like I definitely would have remembered that.
There's only a 13-minute difference in runtime between the two, so it was probably like that one scene and then a couple other like smaller extended moments here and there.
I mean, it wasn't 13 minutes of him just like bitch slapping Sam Elliott around.
I mean, it seemed longer than it should have been, but yeah. So
Probably
that
what was
that happens at least, but I didn't understand. And
Well, now you know why it was.
Oh,
cut.
that yeah, right. Well, then I'll also tag on to what Andy said earlier about like Carter Slade and that because okay, why is it that he can take this other Ghost Rider to the town, but he can't do anything? And when he's like, "Oh, I could only change one more time," why?
Does he? Yeah. Does he
Based
have
on what rules? Based on
or
who
just
said
stay
that?
changed and go to the fight.
Yeah,
Like,
does he-
don't change back until it's over.
Yeah.
Does he
Right.
That
have?
pissed me off. He's like, I'm gonna ride with you. We rode together. All right, bye.
Yeah. Does
Yeah,
he have
I-
like
what
a
the f-
running tally in his head? Like, okay, I have one left. Okay.
They're ghost riders, not ghost fighters. Come on.
But like the
They
idea,
did ride kind of cool.
the idea of that is like never introduced or talked about. It just like I get that you're setting that up so that Sam Elliott can ride off and disappear. I get that. That's the moment you
But I mean,
want
like,
to make, but
it-
it didn't make any damn sense.
Well, like, is Carter still immortal after that, or like, did he give up immortality and his
that-
ability to be the Ghost
Yeah,
Rider at the
that's-
same time, or was it just?
That's what I'm presuming.
I
Is
want-
he is now released. He's gone.
Or maybe
And
him
everything,
not
but-
being on hallowed ground anymore. I don't. Yeah, I don't.
Right.
know.
There's nothing there. But yeah, at the very least, like to throw out that one line, like I could only change one more time. Like what freaking role are you talking about that no one brought up before? What the hell?
It's role of the rider.
Yeah. But
We're not going to go
and
further
it's-
than that with
it's
it. We're just gonna...
sounding. I mean, a lot of this sounds. This. I think the movie is better than the sum of its parts. If that makes sense, I think a lot of this is easy to knock down one by one, but I think I've seen way worse things, and I don't think this is collectively as bad as each of these things was.
Yeah, I can probably maybe give you that. I know the timer went, but I don't know if I really chimed in on this. I'm gonna try to go quickly. Story for me, I agree with Josh. Just felt very basic. I don't think there was too much to it. It felt very cookie cutter type of thing. I think as most of us have discussed, by the time we get to the end of the movie, there's a lot going on that I don't know why a lot of the shit is going on, and none of it seems to make sense to me. And I think the part that Andy kind of brought up where Mephisto kind of like tries to get the Ghost Rider ability back from Johnny Blaze, and then Johnny Blaze just turns him down. Even Johnny Blaze saying, no, I'm going to keep this, didn't even feel earned to me throughout the movie at all. So that just felt like, what the fuck? Why? You wanted to get rid of this the whole time. I totally felt like you would get rid of this by the end, and you just didn't.
Mm-hmm.
You gave up a life with Eva Mendes to be the Ghost Rider. Fuck you, buddy. I don't care anymore. And maybe it's just, I probably could have been included with characters and actors and stuff, but I put it in the story part. I felt like Sam Elliott had the best lines in the movie. I don't know if that was just because of the writing or just because of his delivery, but that's the note that I had.
Sam Elliott can read anything and have it be the best line in most movies.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I ended up with that.
Brian, the best line of the film was "Suspect is going up."
Oh no, I made a mental note of that being the fucking that guy. I don't know what the hell.
How did he get casted?
There's
That was the worst line reading we've seen in this
no
series.
emotion. I couldn't tell if that was ADR'd, and if they ADR'd it, it's worse than probably what they were. If that was the better take, like what the fuck did you record before that?
Like, did he never say the word "suspect is going up" until that take?
It was real late at night. They're like, one and done. This is all we have time for. Okay, cut it. We're good.
Is that in the can?
That's lunch, everybody. Josh, we got direction and soundtrack left. What do you want?
I'm gonna hit soundtrack.
All right.
I actually kind of thought the music, the score was actually very level, and music was used to really good effect in this movie. Specifically in the first act, after you get Johnny as an adult, what's the very first thing you get as Johnny Blaze? You get Crazy Train.
Yeah.
Right? So, what is the Johnny Blaze persona to the public? It's fireworks and explosions and shit going off and all this stuff. And you get Crazy Train. And then he goes to his quiet time, and you got the Carpenters. But I think it was really good to show. It was a good use of contrasting, especially pop music in that sense, to create and illustrate the two sides of him. Like, he's not the person that motorcycle jumping crowds want that Daredevil to be. And the way that he centers himself is not it's in a completely different way. So I actually thought that was used to really good effect. I had to look this up, but this was written as original music by the composer for the movie. The music that they wrote and played during his first writer transition that we've talked about a few times, I dug the hell out of that. And I thought it was really used in really good effect. You could have put a lot of other options over that. You could have put something, much more heavy metal, but the contrasting sound, like I looked it up because I figured like, oh, they kind of repurposed some like classical music piece or something, but no, it was like this like original kind of operatic sounding piece that Christopher Young, the composer, made. That while they played over that transition, I thought it was just a really good contrast to what was happening. It made it very classical to me. Very, very almost like, oh, you're almost like watching a classical play with this tragedy occurring, and this is the music that would go along to that. So I actually kind of liked that quite a bit. I thought overall, in any one area, this might be the single strongest that I would give it.
Okay. Andy, soundtrack, what do you think?
I actually agree with Josh. The soundtrack was one of my favorite parts of the movie. I thought the Western sort of themes and guitars really, I thought they did a good job of like modernizing that sort of sound and sort of like interspersing it into a lot of the movie. My favorite part of the soundtrack was the Johnny Cash remake at the end when Slade rides with Blaze. I thought that was super awesome, badass, and I tried to have Alexa play it afterwards, but she didn't have it. So it was by some guy named Spiderbait. I don't know who the fuck that is, but
gotta be like a remixer or something. Like
yeah, I don't know.
See,
but
they
I
have tons
thought
of songs on the
I thought
soundtrack.
everything fit, and the music accentuated my experience in the movie, instead of like detracting or like I just didn't notice it. But like I felt like I was getting into the scenes because of the music.
So like that specific scene you're talking about in that spot, for me, like I like what they did, but at the same time I'm hearing it and I'm like, this should be Knights of Sidonia. Like it's right there and it hits close.
Knights of Sidonia doesn't come out until later though, right?
It came out in 2006.
Okay.
I actually looked it up after seeing that scene. I was like,
I love that song, so
I wanted it to be that,
yeah.
like when I'm hearing it.
I love that album and I love that song, and I can see where you're going with that. And they're pretty similar actually. A lot of their guitar riffs are pretty similar, but
That's what I mean. Like it was right there, and like I didn't realize it was even a Johnny Cash remake. I was just hearing it, and I'm like, it's almost there. it's like it's right there, just a little tweak, and this is Knights of Sidonia, and I'm like, they've used licensed music, you know what I mean? So it's like that a popular song that had just recently come out would have made sense. But other than that, yeah, it was good. I enjoyed the soundtrack, and I enjoyed that song still, even for what it was. It just itched me that it was like something I was used to hearing, but not quite.
Yeah. Ian, soundtrack?
So I thought this was going to end up like Valerian, where it peaks with the first song, because the line, going off the rails like a crazy train, describes Nic Cage's acting method to a T. But the music was good throughout. I thought it did Western a lot better than Cowboys and Aliens did, which I really appreciated that they tried to stick to the genre somewhat. And then I don't think this is the song you guys were referring to, but I think specifically when the world's most angriest horse, Alejandro, is first shown, they play a little ditty and that fucking shredded. That was like the tightest song to introduce a horse that has ever been in film.
You mean when he like comes out of the fog? Yes, that was actually
like,
really
they
badass.
played that little tune. I was like, holy shit. I didn't think we were topping Crazy Train, but we fucking did, guys. We fucking did it.
Randy Rhoads,
yeah,
too.
So considering how I usually discuss music on these episodes, like you got two good moments, that's a win for me.
starting to think I didn't pay attention to the music as well as you guys did. I don't know if I have too many notes for that. Like I was trying to remember what like pop music they played, and like I remember Crazy Train and the Carpenters and stuff like that, but that was about it. And those didn't really do it for me either way. And like the orchestral stuff, the westerny stuff. I mean, I must just have to try to listen to it again because I don't remember a lot of that. But I mean, you guys have made me want to listen to it and like it, even though I don't remember it all that well. But you've won me over. I need to find the soundtrack so I can try to listen to it after this.
If you just honestly, I found it again because I looked at the soundtrack listing and the soundtrack, because I thought it was an actual classical piece, is not listed. So eventually I just YouTubed or Googled like Ghost Rider transformation, I think. And that's how I found the clip of him like crashing in the warehouse and the first transition of the flesh melting and all that. So you can pick up that clip that way, but you could probably do the same thing with the, caretaker and Johnny ride out to the desert, I imagine, at the very least.
Right, okay.
Just to revisit some of those highlights.
Don't think I was into it as much as you guys, but after this, I'm definitely going to make an effort to find it and give it another listen. So you guys have won me over for the soundtrack. I'll say that. All right, so last one we have is for direction. Anybody want to take that one, or you want me to take it?
You go.
You take it.
You take it.
Okay. I don't want to assume, but I'll jump in. All right.
Keep the money.
All right, I don't have too many notes for direction. One question I want to pose to you guys, really, because it's one of those things that stuck out to me that maybe just from this era of superhero movies. Was there too much slow motion for you guys, or were you cool with it? Because I feel like there's a lot of sequences of like, let's slow it down for something, and
I didn't.
It's less the slow motion and like zoom cut stuff.
Yeah,
the zoom cuts were cheesy as shit, but
I'm trying to remember.
But like that's what makes the movie good.
You're talking about
It's
the
been a
pacing,
while. Like certain sequences, like he's coming off the skyscraper, and before he starts coming down and driving down the building, there's a slow motion of him like whipping the chain around so he can get back on the building and come down. And there were certain sequences of that, like you're in the middle of an action sequence or something, or a stunt or something, and the action just slows to give you that shot of, I don't know, slow motion effect for some reason. Just because, I don't know, someone probably thought it looked cool.
Because The Matrix had come out.
Well, I'm trying to remember, like, if this director did it for Daredevil. And it's been too long since I've seen Daredevil that I don't remember a lot of that.
When Daredevil was
a lot of
going
that
for the one that kills Elektra's dad, it's all slow motion when he misses it.
Well, that's a pivotal scene. Like, I get that part. Like, for me, I guess that would work there.
Well,
Just,
literally,
it seems like
he uses his chain to pivot down the skyscraper, so that is also a pivotal scene.
there's one scene. But I see what you did there, you bastard. I don't know. It stuck out to me that it happened a lot, and I didn't know. I couldn't tell if I found it distracting or if I liked it. So it's just something I was going to pose to you guys. And again, I don't comparing it to Daredevil. Since it's the same director, I don't know if this is like his shtick. If he did it a lot with Daredevil, I don't really remember because it's been a while since I've seen that one. So I don't know if this is just what this guy does.
I think it's just something bad movies do.
Maybe, and that's what I mean. I don't know if it's just like per that era. This is what other.
I think it's a bit of the era where they wanted you to see more of what was actually happening. Whereas today we realize that it's even more badass if you can make us see it and have it happen in real time.
Yeah, fair.
But shake the shit out of that camera.
As far as other direction stuff, I don't know if there was any like really. There was a couple cool shots. I thought like most of the stuff that stands out to me is stuff when he's in Ghost Rider form. Like there's certain shots of framing and stuff that I thought was kind of cool. Obviously we keep bringing back the riders riding together at the end of the movie with Sam Elliott and Johnny Blaze and the horse and the bike. Like that whole sequence that's probably the most memorable shot for me. Is the two of them just riding away in the sunset and going towards the climax. Like, that's the part that I remember from the movie the most. Other than that, most of it kind of blends together. Nothing really sticks out to me that it's like, yes, that was cool. I enjoy that. Let's do more of that. That's kind of where I'm at. Those are my notes.
So, I really like that when the devil descends upon hell on earth, also known as a gathering of carnies, when all the lights are blowing up and they're exploding, the only lights that don't blow up is like some type of devil ride. I really enjoyed that attention to detail. That. Like,
good
that
catch.
was cool. And then I also really liked when Eva Mendes shows up in adult form for the first time. She's off by herself and like in the light and stuff. And I was like, this is so fucking cheesy for like when the X shows back up, like all of the attention's on her.
Yeah.
Like that parody movie, like High School Movie, the film or whatever that was called.
Not another
You know
teen
what I'm
movie.
talking
Not another.
about? Yeah. Not our teen movie. Like that's, I think they referenced that in that movie. Like that's how cliche this is. And they still did it. Like this movie, this director was using cliches like left and right. And like a product not only of its time, but also of like having a director that doesn't have a mind of his own. Like all of the action was terrible because all of the fights take 5 seconds. It's Ghost Rider gets attacked once or twice, doesn't react to it because it doesn't hurt him because he's more powerful than Batman and Superman combined, and then he defeats them with a single move.
Yeah.
Like, that's not entertaining to watch for a fight. I actually got bored near the end of the film because I was like, oh, it's just the last fight and it's going to take 10 seconds. That's not cool.
Yeah.
I want Nic Cage to gestate more.
To be fair, that last fight he did do a little bit more because he wasn't in Ghost Rider form for half of it. But as soon as he gets back to Ghost Rider form, well, the fight's over.
Yeah, I mean, like, he did the good stuff like Ghost Rider shreds across the water. He's gonna whip this helicopter like he's gonna whip a dude named Toby. Like, shit works.
Pissing him off.
Like, you got that horse music perfect. That horse music destroyed. And, like, I didn't like the eye zoom. I hated the eye zoom. That
I forgot about the
pisses
eye
me
zoom.
off.
Yeah.
I feel like
And,
that was trying to be like a Western throwback thing, and
Didn't work.
No,
it was bad then.
I really liked, I guess it's a director decision to have like the fucking movie made video game scene where like it's very clearly they made some type of CG effects to look like a video game just for this movie, for the Johnny Blaze video game.
Oh, yeah.
That was fucking, amazing. And then, he got a good shot of like, this is a biker bar in the middle of nowhere. I believed it. I believed that was a biker bar in the middle of nowhere.
Fair.
So, he made a shitty movie, but that's what you're going to do when you don't have talent.
Mike, what do you think about direction?
I mean, we've said most of it already. I'm trying to think of something like one positive and one negative here. A good positive.
He put Eva Mendes in a movie.
Yeah, I mean, they found enough low-cut shirts for her to wear, I guess. I don't.
That's got to be a director choice, right?
He let Eva Mendes wander right into a crime scene,
Yeah.
Twice.
Negative additional cliche onto what Ian was mentioning. How many? Can we count down the seconds? Because I would like to do this and see what you guys think. The seconds it takes from discovering a pack of cigarettes to discovering his dad has cancer. Did you guys count?
No.
It was like the same time.
It was 3 steps.
It was 3 steps to the trash can, throws it in, and sees the note. It's like, well, here's the cigarettes. Here's the cancer note.
I like that the note,
Can
though,
we
was...
just do the note? Like, we get it. It doesn't...
The creases on the note implied it was balled up, but it was barely, like, bunched up when he pulls it out.
And on
also
top
love
of
that
that, he falls asleep.
Cancer diagnoses are delivered by mail.
Yes. And he falls asleep that night. And when he startles awake in the morning, his dad has already been to the doctor and gotten x-ray results clearing him of cancer that didn't take, like, several days to review with other doctors. Like, how the fuck did this actually happen?
Carnies. He got ripped off by carnies.
I can
I'm
buy the
saying,
devil
like-
aspect of that one.
But Johnny wakes up and instantly is told, I'm free of cancer, kid. I got the x-rays done this morning. And it's like, when?
Even though his dad never actually told him he had cancer.
When he says that, like, I was not going to tell you. Like, he goes through that at least about it. But it's the same thing. Like, that timing is just like, I don't know. But it more on the point is like
He
the
had to
cliche
die,
of
come
like,
on.
here's cigarettes and here's a note about cancer
Yeah.
in all of 10 seconds. It's like, all right.
Minute 40. Andy, what do you got?
I think I guess it's sort of linked to the story, but he did the story and the directing, so I'm going to say it now in the directing. The reading of all the books never was fully explained. Like, was he looking for a way out of his contract with those books and like just like the like religious history and whatnot? And also, when he discovers that he does turn into the Ghost Rider, he looks at Faust, the book. That's the only book they actually show you that he actually looks at, which deals with Mephistopheles, obviously. And he tears a page out that you think is going to be important, and he puts it on the thing, and then we never hear about it again.
Maybe it was in Josh's extended cut.
No, that was not the extra minutes. But to be fair, Brian, you were the one that recently brought up was it the Chekhov's gun term? And that would be a prime example, right? You have the book, he tears a page. Why tear the page if it's not going to come into play?
Right, exactly. I was like, oh, Faust, that's a cool story, and I like how it like links Mephistopheles or whatever.
Yeah, and I could be wrong. I think at least in modern age of like Western civilization, the story, like the actual story that was written in the play, like Faust, was one of the first or predominant that persisted in actually writing that, like, bit kind of quote unquote created the deal with the devil's story.
Right.
You know, so that at least was apropos to what they were doing. It was kind of meta. But yeah, I agree. There's a lot of like, well, why did you do that? It had nothing to do with anything else.
I have one more note, and it's Johnny takes the time to figure out how to control the spirit within him or whatever, and he produces fire on his own, at his own will, right? Moments after that, he tells Roxanne, oh, hey, this whole thing that I'm telling you, it's going to sound crazy, and you'll never believe it, and whatnot. It's like, do the fire.
Yeah, do the Human Torch, like...
Yeah.
Like, you just produced fire with your fucking hand. Just do that, and she'll be like, oh, what the fuck is it? Like, and there you go, you're solved. Problem, like, you got it. But no, he just tells her and leaves it at that. It's like, well, I don't know if that's on direction or not, but it pissed me off anyways.
Yeah, I get that. I can see that.
That's it. My only two quick director notes were that I looked at the timestamp. You don't, at least on my version, it can't be that different on the regular one, but you actually don't see the Ghost Rider until 50 minutes into the movie. And honestly, I'm going to say I think that's slightly a ballsy choice. You know, everybody wants to see the flaming skull head. I think they took time and built up some, maybe not great, but at least some character development before that point, and getting you there. I also, in the end, I wrote down that he makes a comment back to Mephisto saying that I think he says, I'm going to be a spirit of vengeance, which ends up being the subtitle of the sequel. And I wrote, that was an Endgame-esque dialogue set up 11 years before Infinity War.
See, I always thought, like, is Spirit of Vengeance just a subtitle for Ghost Rider? Like, is that just one of his nicknames?
It was actually, like, I believe it's on the cover of the first, like, of that Marvel Spotlight number 5.
Okay.
I believe it's, like, the Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance, you know, Stan Leeing it up.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Okay. All right, so we'll go around the horn. Do you think this movie holds up? Being, at this point, what, 14 years old?
You got to tell us who to start with.
Are you not calling on
Oh,
us? Come on!
Sorry.
Like, we're going around the horn, but I'm not going to tell you
losing
who.
my hosting duties here. I was trying to do math in my head to make sure I had 14 right. Andy, what do you think? Do you think this holds up?
Yes, because I still enjoyed it. I knew what I was getting into. Like, I remembered a lot of what I didn't remember was the beginning of the movie. I don't remember that much, like, young Johnny Blaze and young Roxanne. But I think it still holds up. I still came out of the movie like, oh yeah, you know, I mostly enjoyed that. I am more nitpicky now. Like, I noticed things that sucked.
Right.
But
Ian, does it hold up?
So I saw this at a much younger age than the rest of you for the first time, because I am much younger than everyone else on this panel. And because I'm not a
Being
boomer.
a little generous with that word, much.
Much does a lot of work here, and I think at the time I wouldn't have judged, like I wouldn't have cared about inconsistencies or any of that. I would have completely ignored them. But honestly, I think with age, this movie has gotten so much fucking better. It's a fucking terrific, good, bad film. It's like peak Nic Cage insanity bullshit before he had to take any fucking role that was given to him. Like, this is when he could still be kind of choosy and then Nic Cage the fuck out of it. And like, it took it to another level. And like, all of the bad things I've pointed out just made the movie better because of how fucking terrible they were.
Like I said, I'm expecting like 9.5 out of you for this. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Josh, what do you think? Does it hold up?
On the basic, like a black and white, one side or the other, yes or no, I would say yes. It has. I wouldn't say it's gotten any worse from what it was before. Someone used, and we have used this phrase, I think, as we've gone through this series a couple times, that it's a product of its time. But it could have aged much, much worse potentially. But I think it does okay.
All right, Mike, what do you think?
I would say no. I remember enjoying this movie a lot more than I did this time.
Yeah.
So, for me, it's a no.
I think I'm going to side more with Mike, and it's just coming off of my personal enjoyment of it. Like, I remember, and again, maybe just looking back at the time, like, this was part of that era where we were getting superhero movies all the time, but this was the only type of superhero movie we were getting, so there was no bar to really compare to. When this came out, this was fucking cool to me. I was like, yes, some comic book character that I don't know too much about is now on screen, and I can see them in live action, and they look cool.
What year did Iron Man come out?
2008, the year after this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, and then that kickstarted everything else, and now we have something to compare to 14 years later that I in my opinion have very, very good comic book movies that have since come after that, probably even some that have come before this one, and compared to those, I don't think it really holds up to me for those. So yeah, watching it this time recently, I think I enjoyed it less, so that's sort of where I'm siding with Mike, I think, on this one. So rating time. So I'm going to revisit the Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic. So Rotten Tomatoes, again, critic has 26%, audience at 48%. Metacritic has a Metascore of 35, user score 3.9. So going around the horn again, Andy, out of 10?
Oh, Jesus, me first? All right.
Yeah. Where do you fall? Do you agree, disagree with the other ratings?
I still enjoyed the movie. I still thought that Nic Cage had a really good performance, and the music. I would go out and buy the Blu-ray set that Josh found. So,
if you could get it at the price point that I did,
what'd you get it for?
Like $6 or $7 at half price books.
Son of a bitch! I love half price books. I'm gonna give it a 6.
Okay. Mike, where do you give it out of 10?
So we'll work some gorilla math in here.
GOR or GUERI?
Whichever pleases you more.
Okay.
I was gonna say, I thought about it, and I was like, I'm gonna add 1 because of Evan Mendes to this. I'm gonna add a point. And then Josh had the good idea of detracting half a point for them with that stupid shit. So that brings my score to a 3.
Ooh, okay.
So,
Josh, where do you fall out of 10?
So it was at a 2.5. It got a 3 for Eva, and then
We got 3.5.
right, and then half.
And then
Wow.
half off for her having to ask if she's
Right.
pretty. Just get the fuck out of here.
I actually think I'm in line with Andy. I was thinking I was gonna maybe give this a 6.5, but then my half point demerit for their Eva shenanigans, and so I'm gonna leave it as a 6.
All right. Ian, where do you fall?
As I always say on these, the critics are fucking terrible, and they are completely out of line with modern audiences, including the audience critics. They also do not fall in line with modern audiences. I've always said this every review section, that these are a bunch of hacks writing reviews on the internet. And this is one of the best films we've done on this show. It is a hilariously great, good, bad film. It's one of the all-timers. It's up there. I don't think you can give a Nic Cage film below a 6. I don't know how you do that and call yourself a human being, because you don't have any soul. You don't have any heart in there. If you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, this is less than a 6. This was an all-time performance by one of the greatest thespians that I've ever gotten the privilege to see, let alone experience. I give this film an 8.3.
Didn't go as high as 9. I'm a little bit shocked.
I feel like I was just had a lot of really awful things said about me just there, but I'm gonna let it go.
Yeah, I think for me, again, like trying to think back of when I saw this movie the first time, which was in theaters when it came out, I probably would have given it like a 7 or 8 at the time. Watching it now, I'm definitely not going to go that high. I'm leaning more towards middle of the road because I think it's fine. Honestly, if I watch it again, it would probably be the majority just to see Eva Mendes again in the movie. I'm fine with that.
You know, they make like movies for that.
Probably.
You can see
Yeah.
like attractive women they actually like get stuff to do with them. They aren't just like there to stand around and be like, no, not monster.
But you also get a little bit of like the comic book stuff in there. Like you get the Marvel characters, you get some sort of kind of cool Ghost Rider stuff, so it kind of works, but
Well, let me tell you about this Avengers parody.
but yeah, I mean it's middle of the road. It's kind of fine for me. So I'm going just a 5. I'm going to give it a 5. So that's where we're at with the ratings. That concludes our discussion for Ghost Rider. So now is the time when we get to go to the Wheel of Fate.
The Wheel of Fate!
To pick our next movie. As mentioned earlier, the Wheel has 3 franchises and 3 standalone movies on at a time. The idea behind this is always to try to get some sort of variety going. I think this is like episode 15 of the Rewind Theater, somewhere mid-teens.
That's correct.
Okay. So I still feel like we're getting a feel for how this wheel works and whether we're hitting the stuff we feel like we need to. So if we need to, retool, try something else somewhere down the line, different types of movies on at a time, we'll play around with it later. But for right now, that's where we're at. Ghost Riders is one of the franchises that we had on the wheel. We only watched the first movie. Spirit of Vengeance would be the next one. So since there is still another Ghost Rider movie up, it is still on the wheel. The 2 other franchises that are still in play are Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Ghost in the Shell. Our 3 standalone movies on the board are Supergirl, Speed Racer, and the 1990 Captain America.
Yes. Please.
I don't know if I'm hoping for something actually good or if I just need like Captain America as a palate cleanser.
I mean, it's about 50-50 actually good versus gonna be garbage on that wheel.
Hey, Brian.
No, I'm not going to make it bigger.
Damn it.
That's what she said.
Did we already do Josh's wheel? Or
We didn't have to, no, because Ghost Rider's still on the board, so we didn't have to do the other.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we didn't
other
need a
wheel.
replacement.
Are we sure it's still on the board, though?
After what you just rated this one, I feel like you'd be excited to watch the sequel.
I feel like it won't have enough Nic Cage.
Too much Idris Elba, right?
I haven't seen it, so couldn't tell you.
All right, here we go. Spinning the wheel.
If this doesn't give me what I want, I'm quitting.
I mean, I thought we already established.
Ghost in
you're
the
out
Shell's
after
going to be
Ghost in the
on there
Shell.
for years. It's just never going to happen.
I mean, it
could
got
happen
on
right
here
now,
to
though.
begin with. That's the first step.
I could mess with some percentages so it never gets picked, and Ian's on the podcast forever.
Fuck!
Oh, God damn it.
That is amazing. All right, I'll definitely be there for that.
Oh,
that
Jesus.
one.
So, yeah, okay, 1990 Captain America is next. Oh, God. This is the one we found on YouTube, right? So
Yep.
anyone can watch
Yep.
this for free. It is on YouTube.
Now
Oh.
we just need the whatever year the Hasselhoff Nick Fury, and
I would much rather prefer that one than this one.
yeah, it's got the Hoff.
So you guys have all seen this before?
I have.
I have not.
No.
No.
Is this going to be the only one none of us have ever seen?
Josh,
No,
I
I've
know
seen
for a
it.
fact has
Thing.
seen this. Yeah.
Okay. Wait, did someone see Swamp Thing?
No.
I don't think
Okay.
so.
I don't think so.
So, all right, so there's at least been one that none of us have seen.
That was a good movie.
You keep saying
I
that, then you're the
guarantee
one
it's
that
better
hasn't
than
seen the
this one.
sequel.
I wasn't on the show, so you know.
You're missing the one with Heather
No reason to
Locklear in
ever
it,
watch
man. You
it.
got to get there and
Yes, it's not on the
He's
show.
not missing anything.
it was way better.
Plus,
than
the
first
average for that one's 369, and I really like that.
one. Well, you don't have to add your score in.
No, I'm just pointing that out there because it's the funny number.
Nice.
Exactly.
All right, so that's where we're ending this one. If you're tuning into the Rewind Theaters, keep an eye out for 1990s Captain America. If you've
We'll
enjoyed
get
the
to
show, please support us. Leave a 5-star rating and review. Share us on social media. You can give us a follow, subscribe to the show. We're on Spotify, iTunes, Google, Anchor, Stitcher, hopefully anywhere you're finding podcasts, you can find us. As always, you can find us on Facebook. Search Bry Guy and his Super Friends, or go to facebook.com/Bry Guy Super Friends. You can send us questions, comments, topic suggestions, any of that stuff on the page. Try to send us an email, bryguysuperfriends@gmail.com. You can send to your heart's content. I probably won't see them. Hit us up on Twitter @BGSuperFriends. Feel free to give me a follow on Twitch. That's at Jedi Bry Guy, with Jedi with an I, Bry with a Y. For whenever
so
we
odd.
decide to go live, if I do some streaming of some games and stuff, we'll do it there. And that's where we're going to end this one. On behalf of Andy, Ian, Josh, Mike, and myself, thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.